welcome to a new episode of Far From Home, a talk with a friend abroad. Our guest today is Lidia, and usually I don't say many things at the beginning, but I just want to spend like a few words on, because Lidia is one of my mentors actually, because we are from the same town back in Italy, Benegono Inferiore, proudly from Benegono Inferiore. And I was thinking like before this talk, that actually you're not only one of my mentors, but also we have another common friend, Maria Chiara. And I remember that at their wedding, I think they said, or someone said, that the way we are today is also thanks to all the people that we met in our journey. And I think that was the case for me, because like you also one of the one who actually helped me to develop my international dimension. I was kind of following back in when I was like still living in Benegono, and I think you was really like inspirational for me, and it's not only my mentor but also like also your career and your future. So thank you for being with us today. Welcome.
Thank you for inviting me, and thank you for the lovely words, and congratulations on the program, which is very interesting. And I have to say that the students have become the master, really, because I feel inspired by what you do now. So likewise, definitely.
Thank you. So the first question is actually, you're in Cambridge now, UK. So how you ended up there, if you want to tell us a little bit about your story, your journey.
So, as I was reflecting before this talk, I just realized that I've been abroad for almost 20 years now, which makes me feel a little old. And it was a very strange journey, but then again, probably they all are. It all started with Erasmus, as so often does. That was the first step, but probably even before that, I think that I started studying university, studying a degree for studying in Milan for a degree in philosophy. And that for me was very much what I saw as a ticket to do something with my life. I wanted my university experience to be as full as possible. And so when the possibility of Erasmus came up, many people go on Erasmus just to have fun. For me, that was really a chance to go somewhere to experience something new. Of course, it helped the fact that at the time I was focusing my research on a German movement from last century, so it made a lot of sense to go to Germany and learn the language really well and study with the resources available there. So left for Erasmus, probably one of the most boring Erasmus students ever, because I was spending all my time in the library and just trying to make the most of it, really. My experience in Milan was that university was great, but I couldn't quite figure out what to do with everything I was being taught. So I had great professor. The system was a little bit old-fashioned, if you know what I mean. The teaching consisted in professors talking, me taking notes, then reading a dozen of books, go sit the test, and then on to the next exam. And when I arrived in Germany, in Freiburg, this was Freiburg in Breisgau, so southwest Germany, I was completely mesmerized by the university system there. It was love at first sight. I really finally saw what I could do with everything that I was studying. I was excited to see professors having time to talk to students at lunch or inviting them out to discuss a book for drinks in the evening, students taking initiative. There was so much academic freedom. It was all very bohemian in a way, students organizing courses and discussing things, and it just felt fantastic. And I remember that I returned home full of ideas and wanting to apply for grants and wanting to go back again as soon as possible. So I returned after 1 year to discuss my thesis. And another thing that happened while I was in Erasmus, a side note, was that I met this guy who is today my husband. So everything sort of came together, and it was very clear for me that I wanted to pursue academic research and go abroad again. Of course, at the time, I didn't think that I would end up in the UK, but that was the beginning. That was basically what changes everything. So what happened after that is that I spent a few months in the UK, in Exeter, just because the guy in question is English. So we moved there because he was finishing his study there. And that was a short time that was spent just working on our relationship, obviously, but also applying for position, applying for grants. I didn't really look into doing research in Italy, partially because of the topic. So it made sense to study in Germany, and partially because it was very clear for me that it wasn't gonna work from all the reasons that I already said. And so what happened next is that we ended up in Dresden, so very different side of Germany, big cultural shock from Freiburg to Dresden, different accent, different city, but equally great. And we spent 6 years there together, both me and my fiance at the time. Then we got married while we were there. And those 6 years were really important from the career point of view. I was studying for a PhD there. I was, again, I met fantastic mentors and professors that were encouraging me to try new things, to write papers, to publish them. I was able to teach beginner courses for students, so I could really try and learn what I was good at and all of my skills. And my PhD wasn't really in a straight line either. I was able to try other things. I did some things in publishing. I taught languages for a while, taught Italian in the evening. So that was very much a different phase from the Erasmus. The Erasmus was the student phase. That was very much the academic life. And we met people from all over the world, and we were able to really make some really meaningful connection. And then after 6 years, we moved to Cambridge, this time to follow my husband's career, because he got a really good job offer here. And moving to Cambridge was, again, a new phase. We've been in Cambridge for 10 years now. It's a wonderful city. We feel very lucky, very international. It's obviously the university is fantastic, and very welcoming. But again, big cultural shock from Germany to England. Very expensive city to live in. So all of a sudden our priority changed. We became parents in the meantime. And so all of a sudden you find yourself thinking of school catchment areas and mortgages and buying a house abroad. So it's a very different way to be abroad. I was able, despite all of this priority changing, to rethink my career. And again, I think this was possible only because, having been abroad and worked abroad, you really develop this flexibility. You are able to reinvent yourself, or at least this was the case for me, and just develop this sort of sense of resilience. Because for the first time, I can't really say I missed Italy that much when I was in Germany. Once you start having a family, maybe sometimes things don't go the way you expect them. We had a couple of health scare. We had a long stay in the hospital. There were all of these personal things happening at once. And you start to realize that maybe in Italy you will have more support from family. I could hear friends having, I don't know, grandparents babysitting, things like that, and you don't have that. So you start thinking about all of these things as well. But at the same time, because of that flexibility and that resilience that we learned, and the fact that we were able to always sort of work with what we had and make it work and bring our home with us, I think we managed to set up a very nice family life. I was able to move my research into a new area. When I was in Germany, I was working mostly on philosophical anthropology, sort of philosophy of religion, and once I came here, I started to rethink some of the topic as my life was bringing new things to my attention, and was able to find a position at the university that is more of an academic support position, but at the same time it gives me that freedom to do research on some topics which for me now are philosophy of health and philosophy of disability, and especially that that concept of being different from in a society. So I feel that somehow everything I lived through, it sounds like I'm 100 years old, but still everything that I lived through is sort of coming together a little bit, what I write and what I do. And I think the fact that you are moving from place to place and you have to always come across things that are new and that readapt is a big part of that. So yeah.
I think it's funny what you mentioned, because I think it's happened to many of us, that it seems that we have lived like many lives, because you can also associate this life in like specific places. So there was like my life in Italy, my life in Germany, my life in UK. You don't have 100 years, but still.
Yes. That's exactly how I feel. And then, of course, the big shock for us was the Brexit vote in 2016. We consider ourselves very much a European family.
Mm-hmm. You're also the result of Erasmus, that is like the European most successful program.
So since then, my decision was to also take nationality here. We feel that we're really settled now here. We hope to stay, well, it depends really from the situation, but we hope to stay as long as possible. So I decided to take British nationality as well, which I did 2 years ago. And now I'm both English and Italian. Mm-hmm. So definitely at home here, definitely settled, still feeling very much Italian.
Yes.
And we'll take it from there.
I have a question for you that is not about the country or the cultural shock. So if you want to mention also something about your cultural shock in Germany and UK, fine. But I'm more on your mixed marriage. So how was that culturally? Not only in terms of nationalities, but also you have a different cultural background in terms of your education, because you're a philosopher and he's more a scientific background. So yes. How was all these cultures together?
There are people making jokes about that still from our wedding day. Well, in a way it works, probably because of that. They say opposites attract, so yeah. It works. But for me, a big part of the fact that we're such good partners is that he, like me, sees him very, very much himself as European. He spent a long time in Germany, even before meeting me, and in this way perhaps is very unusual breed. He's a very unusual breed. He is very open-minded, and this is the way we want to, bring up a child and the way we want to live as a family. So that is a big part of it. I think the cultural shock, as you know, is always there. Since the first years in Erasmus, you see all of these types of people going abroad. The one that goes abroad like tourist, the one that go abroad but they only want Italian things, they only want to eat Italian food. And so for me, it's always been absolute key to compromise. And in our family life, we don't only eat pasta, we don't only do things, we speak both languages. We try to embrace as many things as possible. German culture is a big part of what we do because we love it there, and there are many things that we learn there. I think it's very important. I say compromise, not really a compromise. I think it's really more of a flexible mind.
Yeah, integration also for.
It's so important, and again, this is part of what is going wrong here now with the whole Brexit discussion. You always seems to be given a binary choice between something that is good and something that is bad. So what's in my country is good, what comes from another country is bad, or food is better here than there, or weather, I guess it's undeniable better in Italy, but it's not always good and bad. I think there is very much in between, and I think traveling to different places and living in different places definitely helps you to develop this sense of curiosity and appreciation for things that are different from yours. And maybe even a certain humility or humbleness. I remember when I first was abroad and my language was very limited, and I had to say what I wanted to say with very limited vocabulary. And in a way, I was a bit ashamed that I couldn't express myself quite as well as I could have, in my own language. So it's also that feeling of being willing to start from scratch. Learn things in a new way. And this is what I was saying about the difference when we came here and suddenly there were family things that I never had to deal with before. So I learned that my vocabulary was great for research, but not so great for us to talk with a pediatrician. because I never done that before. So, you know, you never stop learning. And in a sense, that's also what I find so exciting, what I always loved about traveling and being abroad, that you can be whoever you want to be. You have a clean slate. You are just judged for what you do, you know, on merit, on what the person that you are. There isn't, nobody knows where you come from, or, you know, it's really about what you do with what you have. So that I always found very exciting and
Yeah.
worth.
I think it's great. And actually, I call my company here Global Mindset Development. And in every like training that I do, I always mention, I think curiosity is key, but also mention like humility or the attitude of learning, because no one will accuse you that you are not like receiving the business card in the right way. If you have this attitude of learning, you're there to learn, you're curious about the other culture, you don't come there with this feel of superiority. Because if it is like this, you're missing a lot of opportunity, you're missing like a real encounter with the others. And I think that is extremely important. So then moving to like the next phase. So COVID came.
Difficult again. That resilience that I mentioned before was more needed than ever, because we had to adapt to something that was new for everybody, so nobody had any tools for that, really. I think that here in the UK, the way I saw it happening, everything has been made very political. So I won't talk about that. But I think one of the things that COVID definitely has shown was a great divide in society. I think this happened pretty much in every country. People who are most vulnerable, people who don't have many means. Also people coming from a minority ethnical background here in the UK were definitely suffering more, or they were more likely to be infected or having consequences than others people. And everybody can tell you, people who self-isolated in a big house with a garden and with internet connection could do much more and had better mental health and better things than other people. So here in the UK and in Cambridge in particular, I always found that the society is very divided, or at least the division is very evident, probably because it's so extreme, because it's a very expensive city. So you see very much the two ends of that spectrum. And it was just difficult to see. Here there's been a big scandal of, for instance, infections rising in care homes and in disability institutes. And basically all the people that couldn't protect themselves were sort of made disposable. So that, of course, was heartbreaking. At the same time, you could see a really big community spirit. So that's one of the positive things that came out of COVID. So many people rise to the challenge. So many people started looking in onto their neighbors, helping people where they could. And I think this is, of course, also very good. It probably shouldn't just come from volunteer and charity association. There should be, something more that is offered probably from the state. But at the same time, I think it reminded us again that only together we can get through this, and that it is so important to take an interest in the person next to you, no matter where they're from. So many people are lonely. Probably here the societal structure is different, for instance, from where I come from. In Italy, I come from a small town, as you well know. Families live together, even across generations, while in the UK it's not so much the case. So there were many elderly people left alone that basically were, even if they were not infected, they were lonely, and loneliness is a new condition in a way of our society that can cause enormous problems. Lot of different things, positive and negatives. Yeah, I think it's definitely something that is going to change. I don't think we're just going to go back to normal as it was before. Yeah.
I think I can share like the same. We had also like the same experience, and here, like the most vulnerable, actually they were like victims, or they got infected like more easily. But then also this idea of like the mental well-being and the mental health, especially of the migrants, the expat, or people not living in their country, is also something that now there is more and more like discussion and interest. And again, it's not that it wasn't there before, because when you are abroad, you have to create your new support network. And if you don't have, you can feel like lonely, and you have to cope with like the frustration. Maybe it's difficult for you to communicate. And so COVID also like made evident what something that was already there. And but at the same time also, like Malta is a small country, so something is easier maybe. And it's also a Mediterranean country, so this idea of the community is here, but still it's something I think there is a lot of reflections now going on, is like which kind of support, and how like with the new technologies, yes, we can be connected, but is it enough, or we need something more, or something different?
I saw an article at some point that I found really interesting that was saying that paradoxically, the fact that social distancing was in place and there was no access to public spaces made certain spaces more accessible, for instance, for people with disabilities, which is not what you would expect, because people that will not be able to access, I don't know, a museum or an art gallery because of barriers, all of a sudden were offered a free virtual tour, which is something that in normal times they wouldn't have, or teaching online, videos and visual aids, which again is something that usually school wouldn't do. So
that's true.
It was ironic to see how from something so bad there was actually something good, and hopefully those things can be now maintained, and we could learn from that. But in terms of the curiosity and the community spirit, I think that a very dangerous effect is that, and here I have to go back to Brexit, something that is in itself very positive, which is national pride and the love for your own country, has been somehow, or is so often somehow twisted, not just here, in any country, into this sort of protectionism, into this sort of we take care of our own, we don't need anybody else, we close the border so we're safe, and again, that is so dangerous, because in a situation like this, more than ever, you will want to see country coming together, sharing resources, helping each other, rather than each one closing their own walls and trying to do things themselves. So probably is again fears that dictate, is the need to blame someone for it. So point fingers here and there and decide that somebody else brought this here, they should have. But COVID also created this sort of I don't know, Vigilantes mentality, where people will judge at what other people were doing, and feel that they had to say. It's again, it's difficult because you can't really know where somebody else is coming from. And
exactly, it's what you mentioned before. It's not that it's like they're good or bad, especially now. I'd say even more now that it's kind of the post-COVID phase where you can go out. And I read a post a few days ago, and it was like be kind. If someone is wearing a mask, be kind. If you don't want to wear a mask, be kind. So like respect, because you're not where someone is coming from and why they are doing. Maybe they are a vulnerable category, so they prefer to like protect themselves with a mask. It's not compulsory anymore, but like it's still in the shops. So but like be kind and try to like respect, because the things are more complex than what you see generally. We cannot judge, actually.
No, absolutely, that is really the key thing, I think.
Yeah, and going on the last part, you mentioned resilience, and I'm really glad that you did, because also this idea of the talk was also to like share the resilience and the resources that we have like rediscover, or something that we realized we had during COVID, like the lockdown, but also now, I would say.
It's again the thing that I really feel like over the years I sort of put aside a reserve, a saving account of and mental resilience and ability to change and to adapt. And then in situations like this, you sort of dig into that and take out. And that is so true, because I see very much resilience as the ability of counterbalance difficult situation that you don't expect. And personally, again, at the risk of sounding again 100-year-old, I think that so often I found myself where I didn't have the manual. I didn't know how to deal with something. I had to make up my own rules, as I was saying before, our own family rules, for instance, the way we do things, which is not the English way, it's not the Italian way, it's our own way, and everything sort of feeds in. And for COVID, again, it was the same thing for us. I felt that all of this little attention, the curiosity, the ability to look at somebody else without maybe judging them, all of this really helped. I really feel that. So you were making an example of people wearing or not wearing masks. I remember that during the lockdown, I was going out for the walk, because here we had the possibility to do the hour exercise every day. So everybody was going for a walk. And sometimes I will meet someone who, maybe an elderly lady, I don't know, at the park from a distance. She was starting chatting to me about the weather. And I just thought it was so sweet, because I was thinking, maybe this person lives alone and I'm the only encounter that she's going to make all day, and she just wants to talk to somebody. And you never know where the other person's coming from. You never know what they're going through. What you do, whether it is a kind word, whether it is a moment of your time, can change somebody's life. And it's just, I think it's just something so simple that everyone can do. I think it really helps that resilience. This is why I was telling you probably before the chat that I am really scared sometimes of social media, because I saw so many opinions and the fighting on comments at the bottom of articles where everybody thinks that they have the perfect understanding of what's going on and what everybody should be doing. It's just so hard. There isn't a one size all that fits all, and you just really need to be very acceptant, and which doesn't mean obviously letting everybody walk all over you, but maybe always give the benefit of the doubt and try. And for us, this is all part of the journey that we made, the journey that I made going in different places. I felt that really helped my resilience, my dynamic. I like to think I have a dynamic attitude. Yes.
Thank you very much. Now there is the message to your countries in your languages, so you can go with any language you want.
Oh, yeah, well, you can do it in both language. It's a little bit what you say, it's really be kind, essere gentili, essere attenti all'altro. Sembra semplice, sembra magari anche un pochino infantile come messaggio, ma secondo me è veramente l'unica cosa a nostra disposizione, l'unica cosa che possono fare tutti, e possiamo veramente avere lo strumento per una rivoluzione, kindness revolution of small acts of kindness, un nuovo modo di essere, che è quello che poi vedo anche negli argomenti di cui faccio ricerca, la possibilità di accettare chi è diverso, chi fa cose diverse da noi, chi viene da un altro contesto, cercare di trovare un modo per andare tutti d'accordo, perché è davvero l'unico strumento che abbiamo per poter gestire situazioni così imprevedibili e strane come questa che stiamo vivendo.
Bravissimo, col potere della gentilezza. Grazie mille, salutiamo anche Venegono, i nostri amici venegoni. Thank you very much. Thank you, Lidia, and good luck with everything. And thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.